make for the state?
Welcome to episode 4 of The State. And of course, my name is Thapelo and
Jacob Cloete.
Jacob Cloete, and we always, on this podcast and vlog, we speak about current affairs, we talk about politics, we talk about history, and just basically what's happening in the status quo. So one thing that obviously has been going around is what's happening in Sudan. But I have a question with what's happening across social media with regards to raising awareness in Sudan. So a lot of people are like making their profile pictures blue, right? And I have a little issue with that, that it might not make much impact in helping what's happening in Sudan, except for just raising awareness. See, so what do you think about that? Like people changing their profile pictures to blue?
Let me ask you, the return the question to you is, when you see the blue profile pictures popping up, what did you do?
Firstly, I was curious, like what are they all about? And then I went to search, and then I found out the story behind the blue profile pictures.
So it raised awareness in that particular sense. And I think that was where the power was in the whole Sudan campaign, because when some of the massacres in Europe took place, like the one where they went in the French newspaper and killed those people, they put in the French flag. So it was that kind of identifier, but Sudan, it was just blue. And you see it popping up all over the social media. So at the same time, there was a French the terrorist attack in France. There was the attack in Nigeria, the massacre in Nigeria, and nobody gave attention to the massacre in Nigeria. So more people died in Nigeria, and less people died in France. And so there's the issue about levels of humanity. The thing that is so successful, so for France there was the French flag, in Africa there was nothing. So the power in the Sudan was just a blue profile picture. There's not you of a flag, there's no level of identity, it was just blue. So it made people curious and Google and so, oh, it's about Sudan. In that level, did you learn something from it? That's my question to you.
Yeah, I actually learned. Then I had to learn firstly, like after finding out the information, like the written information on the internet, then I went to YouTube and then I watched few documentaries, different perspectives on what's happening in Sudan. So already I learned a lot. I didn't even know it was a dictatorship. I thought it's just a normal country like any of the other African countries. So I must say I learned quite a lot.
So then it was successful. So even though you didn't join in, this is what I'm trying to say, even though you didn't join in.
I'm gonna be...
So even though you didn't join in, what happened is that the curiosity of people led them to go search for what is this blue status is about. So even if you didn't join in, it's fine. If you Google it, then in that sense you got an understanding about we need to do something about it. So real change you can only make when you have the information. For the Sudan one, you really had to go and Google. So once you get the Googling, okay, now you have information. So most of this information was not even shared on social media that you had to go look for. So I think to a large extent it was successful. It was raising the desired awareness, because I also see Rosario Dawson. So she is an American actress whose profile picture is also
blue. That's good, yo.
So it went international. It went even to celebrities. So I think.
Do you think it would have rose more awareness if it was just the Sudan flag?
No.
It wasn't there.
No, if it was the Sudan flag, that Sudan flag is about a disparity, or not disparity, is about different identities. It represents a small a group of people in Sudan. So the people in Darfur and other people that is not included in that flag is then automatically excluded.
Because I also wanted to ask, like, do you think because of how, do you think if it was the flag again, say maybe around Europe, do you think even most Europeans would even be bothered? Because I mean, what the impression that I've got from most, mainstream US and European media is that there really isn't much, of like a care about Africa. So I think also if the flag was raised, like if it was the flag used instead of the blue profile picture, for sure it wouldn't have received a lot of European attention, or rather it could have been ignored.
My thing is about Europe. They have to care about Africa. I have an issue with it. I have also issue with the United States to care about Africa, because the way they care about Africa is in a colonial kind of discourse, where they have to step in as like the parent or the older sibling to kind of, you kids are fighting again. So we'll put this law, that law, and that law in place, and this will solve your conflict. And through that, you actually give your power away, because you're looking always towards Europe and someone else to come and deal with the conflict that you have. If we're asking for help, then we need to first identify who is asking help, and what does those people who's asking help trying to gain from it. So if Africa is asking for help in terms of their conflicts, the big question is, what is after the conflict? Who's going to be in power after the conflict? Who is going to exploit the resources? Who is going to have the business contracts? Who is going to be the educated? Who is going to be the rich? Who is going to be the poor after the conflict? And I've said it on this in the past 3 episodes. We first have to figure out what we want in Africa before we can go forward.
And isn't that what the African Union is trying to do then?
The African Union. It's one of the most dysfunctional organizations that you'll ever get. The African Union.
Well, don't you think that it's because of the so many different nationalities and perspectives and ways of thinking, and all of these differences that they have, trying to, formulate this dream of what Africa what they want Africa to be,
There's
Maybe
about
that's
5 countries who contribute to the African Union's budget.
5.
Yeah, and there's about 54 countries on the African.
So that's how it shows that they're not taking it seriously.
Well, the African Union is broke.
Hey man. I've been thinking like the African Union is this next thing that's gonna, especially how like my brother sold it to me when he spoke about how Haile Selassie and like, because he established it, right?
No.
Or was he like amongst the founding people?
Yes, he's part of the African Organization for African Unity. That was the first one.
Yeah.
The AU is kind of the 2001 version with Thabo Mbeki, Bouteflika, who's this one who died, Muammar Gaddafi, Obasanjo from Nigeria. So there was like 5 of them who really advocated for African Union.
Yeah, because I've been thinking
African Union is broke, but there is no money. So it cannot function as an organization on this big continent.
Yeah.
So the African Union, these conflicts is powerless, so they look towards the UN to kind of step into conflicts like this. But then, who is controlling the UN? That's the big question. People doesn't know who control the UN. There's 5. There's the biggest organization within the UN is the United Nations Security Council. So the United Nations Security Council consists of 15 seats, and out of that 15 seats, there is 5 permanent seats, and each of these 5 permanent seats have a veto right. So if they say, let's sanction Sudan, and one of these seats say no, and even out of 4 said yes, then it can't go through. And these 5 seats are the United States, the UK, it's France, it's Russia, and it's China. So if it doesn't serve the UK's interest, they vote no. So then the conflict continues. So there's no intervention.
Sure.
If it doesn't serve Russia's interest, they vote no. Then the conflict continues. That's the thing about the so that's why the establishment of BRICS was to kind of get around the dominant years of the UN.
Sure. Actually, I didn't know that like at all.
Yeah, so the United Nations Security Council, that's the one, that's the most powerful organization within the UN, or the most powerful arm within the UN, the United Nations. So they're the ones that really decides on sanctions and things like that. But a lot of people doesn't know it.
So it's like basically they get to pull the strings then.
Yes, they pull the strings in any situation. If it doesn't serve France or any, we're not dealing with it.
So what is the world say? Also, what is the world saying about that? Because basically then the United Nations is very. It's like it's also a very important organization, especially with its objective. Or do you feel like it's just a group of?
So who is the contributors to the UN? Where does the money come from the UN?
Actually, I don't know. I don't know the Rothschilds.
These 5 countries.
Or is it them?
The biggest budget comes from these 5 countries, so obviously, then they have the biggest say in the matter. So these countries pump in billions into the operation of the UN. So obviously, if you pump billions into an organization, then it's supposed to be your agenda that is being served on it. So the conflict in Darfur, not Darfur, it's Sudan. It's a disaster. The question that I have for me that I cannot reflect on is can we solve it in this lifetime? It's one of the many conflicts on the African continent. Somalia doesn't have a functional state since 1992. They don't have an elected government. There's no form of democracy in Somalia.
Yeah.
And it started off with a conflict similar like this. 1992. We are in 2019. 3 years from now, then it's 30 years.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest concern about me, about the African continent. There's conflicts all over this continent and nobody gives a shit about it. I don't even think Africans give a shit about the conflicts on the continent. No, Sudan. I think the people who cared the less about another conflict on this continent was Africans. Because in the DRC, there's people who have to deal with that conflict. There's in Uganda, there's a conflict. There's in the Horn of Africa, there's several conflicts. Then you have Nigeria, that part of West Africa, there's several conflicts taking place. Then in the north of Africa, there is slavery and things taking place. So you just have conflicts all over this continent. How are we gonna resolve it?
Would you say they are socially engineered or they just
Socially engineered. What do you mean by socially engineered?
like it's not like they just happen naturally, but they were it's part of a plan that was maybe long planned, maybe quite some time ago.
There's 2 questions here. Was there conflict on the African continent prior to colonialism and after colonialism? After colonialism, we are sure. Prior to colonialism, it's sure. The question then, if we answer yes to both of this, is it the same conflicts? And the answer here is no. So then the question you have to ask, so what have changed? What have changed? And does have changed? This continent is by straight lines and things. Those borders, it's not supposed to be. Maybe if we remove the borders.
It will lessen the conflicts.
Yeah, we just remove the borders on the African continent. Okay, you're African now. But then we're going to fight over who was here first. If I go to Namibia now and it's like, no, but I was first on this piece of land. So even that, in that sense, because it's a kind of consciousness that we have on this continent. So maybe we must start working towards a different set of consciousness. And in that consciousness, maybe we'll find the answer to the conflicts in Africa. But I think our director behind the scenes have been like, 2 minutes, wrap it up, it's done, let's do it. Okay, people, we get the message. Simone, say something behind the camera. No,
Wanna say anything?
don't shake the day you don't want to say because we don't talk about coloredness.
But what do you think about what's happening? What's your opinion on what's
I
happening?
don't have an opinion.
So is that like the example?
No,
that
she
she's-
doesn't have an opinion.
Oh.
I really don't. I don't conform to this stuff.
Do you care about the conflict in Sudan? And on that note,
Yes.
let's wrap up.
Do you? Oh, okay, sure. So yeah, but okay. Yeah. So that's it then.
Very short today.
Very short. So please like, subscribe, comment. If you have any questions or if you feel like we have something that you maybe want us to talk about, please just leave some comments down below. Yeah. My name is Thapelo and Jacob.
Jacob Cloete, and guys, please go check out the Sudan conflict. And if you can help, please help.
See you next time.